A retired AEW wrestler has been cleared to compete, and has the AEW return date of The Elite been confirmed. But let's get to the quickfire headlines, as last night's episode of AEW Dynamite would see the first match of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament, with Ethan Page of The Firm defeating Eddie Kingston to advance through to the semi-finals. The win would follow a video package from the leader of The Firm, Stokely Hathaway, who had a warning for MJF, who competes in the World Title match next weekend at Full Gear. We would also hear from MJF himself, and whilst he wasn't present at the arena, a clip would play from his appearance on the Pardon My Take podcast, a show AEW billed as the biggest sports podcast in the world. He would justify his absence by saying that he has to be 110% for Full Gear, and in order for him to do that, he has to stay off the road in order to recover from the attack from The Firm 2 weeks ago. The actual reason for his absence is because he's currently filming the Iron Claw movie, where he stars as Lance Von Erich. He would say that Full Gear will be the crowning moment of the next generation, calling himself a generational talent like Bruno Sammartino, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, and John Cena. As a bonus note, according to Will Washington of Fightful, the promo was done in one take. The show would also see a heel turn from Samoa Joe, who would attack his tag team partner Wardlow after his AEW TNT Championship win over Ari Daivari. At the time, Wardlow was distracted by his upcoming opponent Powerhouse Hobbs, although it was made clear that Hobbs and Joe are not on the same page. The ROH television champion would then grab the AEW TNT title belt, perhaps making his intentions of becoming a double champion clear, with a Joe versus Wardlow match likely coming up in the coming weeks. A match would be added to the AEW Full Gear 2022 pay-per-view, as Darby Allin and Sting are set to team up once again to take on Jay Lethal and the recently debuted Jeff Jarrett. The announcement follows Jarrett's debut last week, where he took out Darby with a guitar shot to the head, before calling for the match this week after Lethal's win over Trent Beretta. AEW World Champion Jon Moxley would later respond to comments from MJF regarding their upcoming match at Full Gear, with him laughing at Max's claims of being the devil. He would say that he's been in some bad places, met some bad people that do bad things, and said that MJF isn't that. Whilst Moxley does want Max to be the champion and carry AEW forward one day, right now he's only just beginning. The main event of the show would pit one member of the Blackpool Combat Club against a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, as Bryan Danielson battled Sammy Guevara in 2 out of 3 falls. Bryan would score the first fall after Sammy got himself intentionally disqualified after hitting him with a steel chair, which allowed Guevara to go on to even the odds, with him now having a physical advantage heading into the third and final fall. However, Danielson was able to make a comeback, ultimately winning the match with a label lock transitioned into a ring of satin, forcing the tap out. The retirement of the WWE 24/7 Championship has seemingly been confirmed, as the official company website now lists the title's active dates as 2019 to 2022, as opposed to 2019 to present, as would be the case if it was still active. The breakthrough follows this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, where Nikki Cross would beat Dana Brooke for the title before throwing it in the trash backstage. Well, at least she tried to. Following the news that former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis has given his notice to the National Wrestling Alliance, with him set to leave once his contract expires in January 2023, another talent on the roster is set to depart. According to Fightful, former TNA Knockouts champion Taryn Terrell handed her notice in last month, expressing concerns with the lack of direction on the show, and she also wasn't happy about the company's reaction when she told them that her head hurt following a match. And speaking of free agency, Lady Frost has been handed her release from Impact Wrestling, this after requesting it in October before her request was denied. According to Fightful, several people in the company pushed for the request to be granted, with it being seen as unproductive to keep her around against her will. According to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE is set to make a call-up to the main roster from NXT, with Cameron Grimes now heading to Raw or SmackDown, and Dave would say, Cameron Grimes is supposed to go to the main roster. I was told he's going to finish up with Joe Gacy and then go to the main roster. Grimes has been feuding with the Schism faction in recent weeks after turning down a spot in the group, and would most recently lose to their leader Joe Gacy this week on NXT thanks to interference from Ava Raine. And next up we have more from Fightful, as last night they would release a report on Fightful Select that provided details on the current relationship between AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery. Whilst there has been speculation on the future of AEW with the TNT and TBS Warner networks following the company's merger with Discovery, the report notes that a long-term employee at Warner owner has stated that they'd be shocked if AEW weren't offered a renewal and significant increase on their rights fees deal during the renegotiation period of their ongoing television deal. The source also added that 2022 has been a huge rebound for wrestling across the board, coming at the perfect time for both WWE and AEW when it comes to television renewals. According to WrestleVotes via Give Me Sport, Bray Wyatt is pushing for 2 former WWE stars to return to the company, including his own brother and former member of the Wyatt family, and the report notes, "There's people that Bray likes and people he wants to work with. Bo Dallas is one of them, and so is Eric Rowan. If Eric wants to come back, I'm sure they'd allow that if Bray also wanted it." And next up, Cody Rhodes has discussed the mistakes that he made during his time in AEW. Cody Rhodes was one of the founding members of All Elite Wrestling, with him taking on the responsibility as an executive vice president of the company, while still being an active member of the roster. Whilst he would be one of the top babyfaces at the start of the company, AEW fans would begin to sour on the American Nightmare, with him ultimately leaving to return to WWE at WrestleMania earlier this year. Speaking with Ryan Satin on the Out of Character podcast this week, Cody would discuss the mistakes that he made in AEW, with him feeling that he took on the role of EVP too early in his career, and he would say, "I was very active and I did start a community department. Brandy Rhodes did bring Culture City into the wrestling and sports entertainment space. So we were very active in terms of all the facets and assets of that gig. We wanted a wrestling company brought to you by wrestlers. For sure, that's a huge part of the mission, but maybe it would have been better served for me at age 45 than it did at age 33 or whatever it was." Cody would discuss the decision to make himself ineligible to compete for the AEW World Championship, which was the stipulation for his title match at Full Gear 2019, and he would add, "Just entering the prime of my career, so to make political decisions like boxing myself out of winning a world championship, those decisions in hindsight were not the correct decisions and what I should have been doing. There was only so much of playing in the middle that I could do, and now I'm not in charge of nothing other than me being a pro wrestler." Cody is currently out of action due to an injury he sustained prior to the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view earlier this year, and whilst he did compete in the match Hurt, he has been out of action since, with him expected to return in early 2023, ahead of WrestleMania 39. And next, a retired AEW wrestler has officially been cleared to compete. Last night on AEW Dynamite, an emotional Saraya would face off with Britt Baker in the middle of the ring, where she would reveal that she is 100% medically cleared to wrestle, this following her retirement 4 years ago. She would then call out Baker for a match at the Full Gear pay-per-view next weekend, with the bout now officially on the card for the show. Right after Dynamite last night, Saraya would then appear on Renee Paquette's The Sessions podcast, where she discussed her road to recovery, with her gaining full clearance on Halloween, and she would say, "Halloween, I went to the doctor in California, one of the best around. If anyone is going to tell me no, this guy is going to tell me no because his job is on the line. I got the x-rays done, these are great, but we have to triple check with CT scans and MRI. I did the CT scan and MRI within the same hour, it was very quick. He sat there, we went through all of them, and he went, 'You're cleared.' I burst into tears. 'Are you serious?' I was still asking questions like about the fluid around my neck. It was just the fluid was back, the fusion was perfect, there were no fractures above or below. Let's talk about paralysis, it's rare. If you get kicked there, you have a cushion now. If you ever feel that you're not feeling too well, take some time off. You know your body, I will clear you to get back in the ring. How many matches can I have? Take it easy, do 1 match a month and gradually start building it up. Long story short, Halloween is when I got the full clearance." Saraya would later post an official letter from the Marina Spine Center in Marina del Rey, California, which states that the patient is cleared to wrestle with no restrictions, signed by Dr. Robert Watkins Jr., who is an orthopedic surgeon at the center. Also on the podcast, she would reveal that one of the first persons that she told about being cleared was Sasha Banks, whose kick to the back of the neck led to the devastating injury, although she was adamant that she didn't blame Banks for the accident. Next up, has the AEW return date of The Elite been confirmed? Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks haven't been seen in an AEW ring since their involvement in the backstage altercation with Ace Steel and CM Punk at the All Out pay-per-view, with them at the time being suspended and stripped of their AEW Trios Championships. With that said, yet another vignette would air last night on AEW Dynamite, hyping up their return to television, something we have seen for the past 3 weeks in a row. Various photos of their past were shown in the package, highlighting their rise in New Japan Pro Wrestling and on the independent scene, including pictures with the likes of Kevin Steen, the now Kevin Owens, and Prince Devitt, the now Finn Balor. The aesthetic of the video appears to suggest that the Elite will be present at the Full Gear pay-per-view next weekend, with cogs and similar imagery used in the Full Gear promotional material also being seen in the vignette. Not only that, but the Prudential Center, the home of the pay-per-view, was shown multiple times. The EVPs of All Elite Wrestling were present backstage at Dynamite last week and the week before, and although it hasn't been confirmed by sources, we can also assume that this was the case last night too. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 masked AEW wrestlers unmasked.